Hi ladies, we're going to go through the Year 7 measurement test. So one period for this test, no calculator. Oh, sorry, you were allowed a calculator. And you had to show all working. Okay, so for this one here, we basically are just working with squares, rectangles, triangles, rectangular prisms, and cubes and parallelograms. Okay, so just those things. And you need to remember the formulas. So the main thing you can take away from this is not every shape has the same formula to work out its area or its perimeter or its volume. Okay, but anyway, let's just stick to what we're doing at Year 7. So find the area of the rectangle in the diagram. Okay, so the area of a rectangle, start by writing the area formula. So area equals length times width. Length is 9, width is 10. Doesn't matter your order because 9 times 10 is 90 and 10 times 9 is also 90. And let's write the unit, so millimeters squared. Now, it's very important that you show your working out here because, and I've discussed this with a few of you, the main reason is, so if you do make a mistake, I can see where you went wrong. The second thing is, in many years' time when you do VCE, if you don't show your working out and you've made just a small error, you would get 0. Okay? Even if there was rounding involved and you incorrectly rounded and you just wrote the incorrect number, you would get 0. But if you showed how you got to the end and your small error was just at the end, you could get 1 out of 2 marks, and that makes a huge difference. So please always show your working out. All right, the next shape is a triangle. Now, if you're having a bit of trouble, always start by identifying what your height is. Whoops. My alarm's going off. Just give me 1 sec. Okay. So I can't remember what I was saying, but there's your height. Okay, so your height of your triangle, this is on a slant, but it doesn't make any difference. Your height is still, I guess, perpendicular to its base. Okay, so your height here is 10 and your base is 36. Now the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. Again, it doesn't matter what order you put it in. Just because I wrote base here as 36, that's why I switched from writing 10 to 36. Now, 1/2, I'm just going to leave that for now because you should be able to do this without your calculator, and I'll show you why. Because we can do 36 times 10, which is 360, and then 1/2 of 360 is 180. Although you had your calculator, so you could do that on your calculator. Remember that 1/2 is the same as 0.5, so for some of you it's easier to write 0.5 into the calculator. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this one we're working out the perimeter of this parallelogram. So your parallelogram, that's 4 sides. These arrows, so this is a single arrow and this is a single arrow, just shows that they're perpendicular and also that they're the same length, is 3. Okay, and this one perpendicular and they're the same length, which is 6. So we're just doing the perimeter. Your perimeter is the distance around the entire shape. You'll notice that 2 sides are 6 and 2 sides are 3, so you could just do 2 times 6 plus 2 times 3, or you could do 6 plus 6 plus 3 plus 3. Either way, you would get the same answer. So 2 times 6 is 12, plus 2 times 3 is 6, so you get 18, and we're working in meters, so 18 meters. Okay, moving on to question 4. So find the volume of this rectangular prism. So the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height. Now it doesn't matter which one you call width, length and height because you're multiplying. So I'm just going to put 12 here times 5 times 2. Okay, 12 times 5 is 60. 60 times 2 is 120. You can do that on your calculator. When we're showing volume, it should be centimeters cubed. Okay, so that little 3 means cubed. Okay, so don't say centimeters 3, it's centimeters cubed. Okay, question 5. Use the grid lines to find the base and height of each triangle in the diagram below. Add the area of the 2 triangles to help you find the total area. So just got this space here, so I'm going to draw the 2 triangles. So there's one, and just going to have them separate. Oh gosh, that's a terrible triangle. Okay, so they actually have the same base. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they've both got 4. And then your height. So your height is from where the points meet, the top of the triangle. So that's 2. And this triangle is here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also 4. So you can just say your height for this one is 2 and your base is 2. This one here, height is 4 and your base is 4. So your total area, and you're going to have 2 formulas, half times base times height for your first triangle, plus half times base times height for your second triangle. Now technically I should not be writing 2 B's because they represent 2 different bases. Oops, that should be a 4. I was wondering if you picked that up. All right, so let's fill it in. Half times base is 4 times height is 2, and this one here, half times 4 times 4. Okay, you can do this on your calculator, but I'm just going to do it now. So without a calculator, so half of 4 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and then half of 4 is 2, 2 times 4 is 8. So we get 12 centimeters squared. So this question a bit tricky if you couldn't actually identify, I guess, the height and the base. So now you can, and when you come across questions like this, just step back and think, all right, how can I use these grid lines to help me work out the base and the height of these triangles? Okay, moving on to question 6. So here we have a composite shape. Remember, a composite shape is made up of more than one shape. Now, I can just draw a line here, and now I've got a rectangle and a triangle. So I've got a triangle like that, plus a rectangle. So I can just say my area is equal to the triangle plus a rectangle. So I'm going to write those 2 formulas, half times base times height, and then plus the rectangle formula, which is length times width. You could do these separately if you like. So a half times, all right, what is the base of my triangle? I know that this whole distance here is 24, okay, because it says here. And this is 16 because it says it here. So 24 minus 16 gives me 8 for this distance here. So the base of my triangle is 8 and my height is 11, which is written here. Okay. Then my rectangle, 11 times 16. Don't accidentally see that 24 there. It's 16. Okay, and let's see if I can do this without a calculator. Half time of 8 is 4. 4 times 11 is 44. Okay, so I've got 11 times 16. What I would do here is separate that 11 to 10 and 1. So 10 times 16 is 160, and then add another 16 is 176. Okay, then add these 2 together. So we're going to have 200. Okay, let's just add that 480, 220. Just making sure that's right. Okay, so 220 meters squared. Sorry, we're doing the area. There we go. Okay. Question 7. Another composite shape. So this one here, you could do it 2 ways. You can split it into 3 separate rectangles like that, or you can have the larger rectangle here and then you can take away this smaller one here, what you don't want. I'm actually going to do it both ways. Okay, so what you really need to do is choose which way suits you. Okay, I think there's one easier than the other, but it's personal preference. Okay, so let's do it the first way I had it, so the 3 rectangles. So my area is equal to the first rectangle, and it's probably easier if I write the dimensions. So the top is 3, and this side length here is the same as this one here, which is 8, plus this smaller rectangle here. Okay, so this is a little bit harder to work out. So my height, if this is 8 and this is 7, that leaves that as 1. And then this whole distance is 15, but I'm going to be taking away 3 and 7, so that leaves me with 5. And then I've got the other bigger rectangle here, which is easy, it's just 7 and 8. Okay, so length times width of that first rectangle, length times width of the second rectangle, and length times width of the third rectangle. So 3 times 8 is 24, 5 times 1 is 5, and 7 times 8 is 56. And let's add all that together. Okay, when I add multiple numbers, I always look at what I can do, what's easier for me. So this 4 and 6 is like a pair because they both add up to 10. So I put that 4, gives me 60, then add the 20, makes that 80, so 85 centimeters squared. All right, I'm going to do the other way in a different color so I can just keep them both on there. Okay, so remember the other way was to have this bigger rectangle. Maybe I should have used a different color, but whoops, there's a terrible tracing. Okay, so this time our area is the bigger rectangle, take away the smaller rectangle. Okay, so my larger one has a length of 15 and a width of 8, and the smaller one here is 5 and 7. So we got 15 times 8 for our big one, and then we take away what we don't want, 7 times 5. Okay, 15 times 8 sounds a little bit hard, but let's change it to be 10 times 8 plus 5 times 8. Okay, same thing. It's a lot easier to do now. So if you're ever multiplying by, I suppose, numbers larger than 12, because in primary school you usually stopped at 12, just split your number into 2, so the 10 and the 5. And then 7 times 5 is 35. Okay, so 10 times 8 is 80, plus 5 times 8 is 40, minus 35. And that gives us 85 centimeters squared. Okay, so you can do it either way. Choose which one suits you. All right, let's go on to question 8. Go back to blue pen. Oops, went to green. Okay, find the area of this composite shape. All right, there's again 2 ways you can do this. You can separate it. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares that are actually the same. Okay, so I could say my area is 5 times this same square. And that square, if this whole distance is from here to here is 15, we're basically dividing that into 3 equal sections. So it's going to be a 5 by 5 square. Lots of 5s, huh? So we want 5 squares, and let's work out the area of this. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 25 is 125 centimeters. Now I think that is the easiest way, or the quickest way also, but a lot of people won't see that it is the quickest way. So let's do it another way. Now, in class, remember we did do one and it was a big rectangle. Well, this is how we did it. We did the big rectangle and then we took away the 4 smaller rectangles. So your area is equal to the big rectangle minus 4 times the smaller rectangle. Okay, so your big one is 15 and 15. And then your smaller is 5 by 5. Okay, so this requires you to know what 15 times 15 is. It's 225. Then minus 4 times 5 times 5, which is 25. I can't remember what the answer was. Oh, it was 125, wasn't it? There we go. It's always nice when you get the same answer. Otherwise, kind of have to stop the video and edit it. Okay, fantastic. So this one here, choose the way that was easier for you. But I think what would have made this question hard is recognizing that one length was 5, not 15. Excuse me. Okay, question 9. Another composite shape. So this time we've got a big rectangle and we're taking away this smaller triangle, which kind of looks like a mouse, don't you reckon? We put a little nose there, there's its whiskers, and then we have some eyes. And then we can, oh no, now I've just ruined it, haven't I? Maybe it's going into to eat some cheese. All right, there's your entertainment for the video. Let's keep going. So we've got the area of the bigger rectangle taking away the smaller triangle. Okay, so taking away this triangle. So let's fill in the size of our rectangle. So we've got 20 up the top and then 18 on the side. And the triangle, remember we want the base and the height. So if this is 6 and this is also 6 and this whole thing is 20, we do 20, take away 6, take away 6, and we're left with 8. And the height is 10. Okay, so it's told us that it's 10. Okay, so this is length times width, and the triangles are half times base times height. So we're going to have 20 times 18. God, you're going to be testing my ability to do that in my head in a second. Okay, so 20 times 18. Now I would do 10 times 18 and then multiply it by 2. So 10 times 18 is 180. Then 180 times 2 is 360. And then we've got half times 8 is 4. 4 times 10 is 40. So we're going to get 320 centimetres squared. Now for this one, there really isn't an easier way to do it. I would not be splitting this shape up into smaller shapes. I mean, of course you can, but it would be very silly to do it that way. So the best way to do this is to take the bigger rectangle and take away the triangle. Okay, question 10. So this farm is made up of 3 fields. Okay, because there's multiple questions, I'm going to try to just read through them all and then come back. So we're going to find A, B, and then the total area, and then we've got to find the perimeter. Okay, so let's start with finding A. So we know that this whole distance is 600. So what we're going to have, oh, where can I do this? I'll do it over here. So A, if we start off with 600, okay, so the whole distance is 600, and then we take away what we don't want. So the only part we want is this, okay, so this part of 600. Now I'm going to change colours here just so you can see where the others come from. So we've got 250 here, so we're going to take away that. And let's do green. And then we've got 100 here. Okay, so we only want that blue part. So 600 Take away 200 is 400, take away 50 is 350, and then take away 100 is 250. And you can write meters. Okay, so that should go down here. So make sure these answers are actually going on the page. You don't want me scrolling up and down, it'd just be annoying. Okay, let's get rid of these lines on here. Oh, it's all right. Don't you just love undo? There we go. So let's get rid of them. Okay. And now we're finding B. Now, they told us before this was 600, but we haven't actually got this whole length. So how about we put it in? Okay. And let's just again highlight what we know. So this is 300. And let's do green. Come on. This is 400. So all together, that's going to give us 700. Okay, from there to there. Now, we don't want, and if you've seen it up the top, we want to take away this, the 500. Okay, so basically B is equal to the 700, now that I've covered in yellow, take away that yellow bit, the 500. And that's 200. Okay, so we found A and B. All right, I'm going to leave A and B on. Oh, I did it again. I press the delete or it's like a little broom, sweeps the page instead of just selecting the rubber. Okay, so we have to go and find the area now. So we can call this number 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay, so the area of number 1 is, again, length times width if you want to write it down, and then 500 times A, which we worked out to be 250. And, oh, really, you know what, I've got my phone right here, I'm just going to do my calculator. I could do this in my head, but I always leave out zeros when I do it. Why are we dealing with such high numbers? Okay, 125,000. So the area of the second one, again, length times width is your formula. 400 times 250. Okay, and let me just quickly do that on my calculator. 100,000. And then the area of I just did number 3 then, didn't I? Silly me. I might just change them in a sec. So this one here is going to be 300 times your width. So this is 100, and then we've got 250 here, so it's 350. So it's 105,000. Okay, so if you don't know what I was talking about before, I called this one, well, I called this one 2, which meant the other one had to be 3. Okay, so let's change that back to, so this one's 2 and this one's 3. So your total area is just adding the area of all 3 up. So 125,000, 100,000, and then 105,000. So now we've got 330,000 meters squared. Now your perimeter, and I might have to do that up the top even though it's going to look a little bit messy, is you're adding up all the lengths. So We've got 500. And even if you go over it as you've done it, just so you don't forget anything, then A, which we worked out to be 250, then B, which we worked out to be 200. Remember, we're just going around the outside, 250, then 400, then 100. It's a bit slow when I do this. You're like, I know what I'm doing. Just move along, hurry up. Okay, plus 600. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly do that in the calculator. Hopefully I don't make any mistakes. Okay, so 2,600 meters. Okay, it's the fence around the, what is it, a farm. Okay. We've got one more question. This is the last one, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so here we have lasagna. It looks exactly just like lasagna. All right, so basically Hilda has prepared the lasagna. She needs to cut it into equal pieces. So when you think about it, when you cut lasagna, usually you cut it in half, and then you'd be like, oh, well, now what do I need to cut it into? 6. So we cut it twice. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you want to be fancy pants, you can put that there to indicate the cut. So I've cut that into 6 equal parts. Now you can work out the area of one part, but that's quite a, it's not a hard way to do it. You would just say, all right, this, if that's 20, that makes that 10. And if that's 30, that makes that one 10. And then the other side, oh, it doesn't really matter. Oh God, that was terrible, sorry. What do we got to do now? 9. It doesn't matter the order, because remember when we're doing the volume, it's just multiplying numbers. Okay, so we've got 900 centimeters cubed. Now, how you probably did it, and I think is probably a nicer way, so it's less room for error if you do it this way. So 20 times 30 times 9, although it makes it hard with these big numbers to do in my head. So that's 600, 600 times 9. Oh, I think it's 5,400. Let's just check. Good. Okay, 5,400. And that's for, for the whole thing. So then one piece, and this is where it's good to show your working, is 5,400 divided by 6, because we're dividing it between 6 people. Now what I would do here is not worry about the zeros, just focus on the 54. So how many 6's go into 54 is 9, and then we have our 2 zeros, so there's 900 centimeters cubed. Okay, well done girls. How long was that? Under half an hour, that's awesome. Any questions, please make sure you come and see me. I don't want you to assume that you just watch the video and then that's it. So please follow up with anything you don't understand. Okay, bye-bye.